Hello everyone, this is part 13 of What If Naruto Locked Eyes with His Future Wife, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Damn, Ino shook her head slowly, her high heels click-clacking on the hard cement under her. I shouldn't have come. Ino looked around slowly to see any familiar faces. Unfortunately, no one was around. As Cinderella was walking off the two open front doors of the school, the two ushers in black tuxedos greeted her and gave her a warm smile. As she walked in, the loud music slammed off her body. Wow, Ino looked up at the fine decor in awe, seeing the hanging stars all around her, some part of the dance floor in complete darkness with nothing but the glow in the dark clothes some people were wearing and the bright color dresses girls had on. Niece, Ino began to stiffen as the music played harder, students dancing and grinding their boss against each other. Ino. She jumped and almost tripped on her dress when she heard her name being yelled out over the music. Ino looked back to see Temari, Tenten and Shikamaru making their way over to her. Trough the crowd. Ino, you made it. Tenten smiled cheesier as she wrapped her arms around Ino's small waist and stepped back to admire her look. Very, very classy. Unlike some whores here, Temari rolled her eyes to a girl walking past her with a short dress up her upper thighs. Slut, you look very nice, Ino. How you managed to get ready so fast? Temari smiled at Ino's beautiful dress. My mom helped me, she said she had a feeling I would wanna come. Ino smiled and let out a weak laugh. Have you two danced? Ino smiled, moving closer to Shika and Temari. I think I need a dance to get me loosened up. Ino smiled at Tenten sinisterly as she slowly grabbed her hand gently and made her way over to the glowing dance floor slowly with Shika and Temari behind them. Just as the four were on the dance floor, the mood of the song slowed down a bit with a more seductive beat in the background. Crowd of students cheered at what was about to happen. Ino, Temari, I got an idea, Tenten said low for Shika not to hear. Alright, Tenten began to break down the plan to the two girls while Shika stood there confused, holding a glass of fruit punch in his hand. Oh boy, Temari laughed at Tenten's thought and headed over to Shika. Sit, Shikamaru. Temari led him to the closest table to the dance floor as possible and sat him on a chair wrapped in a white cloth as the top of the table. Enjoy the show. Temari kissed Shika on the side of his cheeks and walked back over to Tenten and Ino, who started moving to the slow beat of the song. Shikamaru was wondering what was happening when he saw Tenten grab Ino's hand slowly, moving closer to each other, interlocking fingers with each other. Temari slid between the two girls and began moving her hips from side to side with Tenten and Ino grinding on the opposite sides of her body. Shikamaru slowly raised his glass at them. Woohoo. Threesome. Shikamaru busted out laughing at the comment no one around could be able to hear due to the music. Come. Temari warded out with her lips, moving her finger towards her while he walked slowly over to her with anticipation. Shika wrapped his arms around her waist and began grinding his groin between her legs, leaving Tenten and Ino to dance with each other. Tonight's going to be fun. Temari didn't notice him moving her deeper in the crowd while she left the other two behind. That Temari, Tenten joked and giggled before she was grasped gently by the waist. Excuse me. She looked up at the guy with brown hair who had eyes to match. What? The guy whispered into her ear. Alright then, Tenten giggled at his request. Ino, I'll be back, okay? He wants a quick dance. Tenten was now being pulled by the guy, giving her a soft smile. Try looking for you know who. Tenten smiled and waved at her friend who faked a smile for her. Ino shook her head and watched both her friends disappear with something they both had, someone to dance with. So with that, she walked over to the food bar where she found 3 large tables with every kind of junk food you can think of and the traditional punch bowl with a ladle in it. Ino grabbed a plastic cup near the napkins and poured herself a cup of red. Ino sipped down a bit of her juice before turning over to see more students making their way over to the dance floor with partners while she stood there looking stupid by herself. The blonde Cinderella walked over to her empty table and sat down at one of the covered chairs, sipping her drink slowly, trying to feel important. Minutes passed what seemed like hours to Ino, and finally the song was ending just to be restarted when she felt someone's presence behind her. Ino, The person said. Ino's jumped out her seat to turn to see Sunad wearing a light brown dress up to her knees with brown high heels on and her blonde hair pulled back into a bun. Relax, it's me. Why aren't you dancing? Sunad asked Ino, who sat back down, she herself taking a seat next to her. I don't really want to, Ino told her a lie while taking another sip of her drink. You look pretty tonight, what made you come? Ino asked, seeing Sunad stand back up, fixing the little bits of blonde hair drooping down her face. Same reason as you, have fun Ino, Sunad replied in a serious tone and walked away, leaving Ino to wonder what she exactly meant by that. Had she known about her feelings from the beginning, or was it something else? Time passed and Ino wondered if she was going to spend the rest of her time tonight sitting here, alone. Half an hour later, Ino found herself annoyed and stood up to see if she could spot any of her friends. She spotted Tenten making her way out the crowd and Ino quickly rushed over to her. What took you so long? Ino asked Tenten, who was out of breath. That guy wanted another dance, I'm sorry. Look, there's Temari and Shika. Tenten moved out the way and let Temari and Shika make their way next to both of them. Where were you two? Tenten smiled at Temari, who grabbed Ino's hand slowly. Let's go dance, us four together. Temari smiled over at Shikamaru, who was now licking his lips back at her. Come on, it's been about an hour. We have a lot of time. Temari pulled Ino into the crowd of people where she was pushed and shoved towards others. The beat of the music began to pound the walls of the large gym room when Shika started grinding his body behind Temari while she pulled Ino closer to her. Tenten pushed Ino closer to Temari, making a her between the sandwich. Tenten raised Ino's hands up, as did Shika, to Temari and let out a loud yell along with everyone around them to the good music playing. Some danced and some watched the foursome going on in the middle of the dance floor. Ino began to grind against Tenten and Temari while smiling and laughing to the joy of the night when about 5 minutes later, the music began to slow. Ino was afraid they'll leave her again, but fortunately the four of them stepped out the dance floor and to the empty table where she was sitting at before with Sunad. Ino sat next to Tenten as Temari sat next to Shikamaru. That was fun, you guys. I should invite that cute guy that I danced with, Tenten whispered into Ino's ear. She busted out with loud laughter as the music began to start up again, this time in a slower beat. Speaking of which, Tenten blushed a bit when she saw the guy she was talking about, making his way over to the table in his nice fitted black tuxedo. Hey there, Tenten twirled her fingers again, watching him walk around over to her. Can I get this dance? The guy asked her as she stood up slowly. I won't take her from you too long. The brunette smiled over at Temari and walked Tenten over to the dance floor again, moving his hand behind her back. Well, look at that. Tenten had a date this whole time and didn't tell us. Temari laughed out and stood up to clean her dress from the crumb of the cookie she had just eaten sitting in a large bowl at the center of the table. Just then, Ino's heat began to ache at the next message. This next one goes out to the lovers out there. Grab the person you love, take them by the hand. This one is dedicated to you, the DJ announced over the music. Just then Temari got up out of her seat and grabbed Shika to his feet. Let's go, she kissed him softly on the lips. The night's not over, Temari whispered into Ino's ear before she walked onto the crowded dance floor. I knew this was going to happen. Ino shook her head slowly as she saw all the different couples leave their tables and head over to the large platform of the dance floor. Ino's eyes became glassy, full of tears as the thought of him being on the dance floor with some other girl came to her mind. Seconds passed as the tears welled up in Ino's eyes when her heartbeat almost skipped a beat. Can I have this dance? A male voice asked over Ino. She knew it was him. Was this really happening, or was she being delusional? Ino turned around slowly to see other than Naruto standing there with a black fitted tuxedo and a blood-red bow tie around his neck. His blonde locks were the same as she had last seen him. How she loved the view of his presence now more than ever. Ino stood there with a serious look when a smile crept up to his face. Ino tried to fight back the smile that was fighting to get out. She finally smiled up at him and took his hand he was extending for her. She felt the warmth in his fingers as they intertwined with hers. This was something she took a chance on, something she wanted and was going to get. The two blondes walked over to the dance floor where Naruto turned back around on her and moved his left hand behind her waist, pulling her gently closer to her while he took her hand in his free one. You look beautiful tonight, Ino. You always do. Naruto smiled at her, moving step by step to the slow song. She looked down at his chest that was almost pressing up against her and blushed. Thank you, you like good as well. Ino looked back up at the blonde with a returning smile, moving closer to him due to his hand. She could smell his fresh cologne on his body as she moved on the dance floor with the other couples in the same position as them. He moved closer to her, then moved back, twirling her around and moving her closer once more. Both blondes walked over to the dance floor where Temari, Tenten and Shika awaited them, watching them as they were celebrities. Ino also saw Sakura coming closer to her, making her way over from the exit, as she prepared for battle with her. All Sakura did was give her a dirty look and rush right past her over to the bathroom. Ino also spotted Sasuke running after Sakura when he stopped in front of them. The words that came out his mouth broke Ino down. She knew how this night would end after what he had said. You wanna know what she was going to tell you, Naruto? Ino and I slept together. Naruto stood frozen as Sasuke winked back at Ino and ran after Sakura in the bathroom. Ino stood frozen as well with her back against facing him. A crowd was forming together around him as seconds went by. Is that true, Ino? Naruto asked in a shaking voice. I can explain, Naruto. It was. Ino couldn't get it all out as he just shook his head in disgust and turned around, heading for the exit of the building. Temari and Tenten ran forward to Ino's aid as her eyes began to pour out tears. To think, Ino thought this night was going to be perfect, but she had only one person to blame, and that was herself. Come on, Ino. Tenten wrapped her arm around Ino, leading her out to the exit as quick as possible with Temari and Shikamaru racing behind them. It's alright, Ino. Tenten rushed her the exit of the building into the parking lot where she held Ino in front of her with glassy eyes. Seeing Ino cry was a hard task for Tenten. What happened? Why he left? Tenten saw Temari wrap her arm around Ino in a hurry while Shika watched next to them. Ino had never even mentioned anything she had done with Sasuke to her friends, and it was time to confess to it. All the lies, betrayal and deception had to come to an end. Ino sobbed hysterically, replaying the scene in her head. I slept with Sasuke. Ino heard the gasp come from Tenten's mouth. Tenten quickly broke into tears hearing her friend come out with that. Tenten walked closer to Ino, wrapping her arms around Ino's body as well as Temari. The moon shined down at the three in her embrace and trough, all the tears flowing down Ino's cheeks. She saw Temari's cheeks flooded with tears of sadness for her. One night she had to fix all the mess she had caused, and this is the way it was supposed to end. Ino knew there wasn't going to be no more chances, no more forgiveness, no more of him. Her heart was slowly shattering again as something cried out inside of her, something she hadn't realized at the beginning of all this, something she had kept inside her for the longest, and it was time she realized it. She was in love with Naruto Uzumaki. Bye you guys. Ino waved slowly at the gang in Shikamaru's limo, Tenten trying her best to wipe her tears away and force a smile for her blonde friend. Ino ran up the steps to her porch, trying not to trip on her high heels while her eyes ran tears down her face with her black eyeliner smeared down her cheeks in black rivers. The blonde unlocked her door to find her mother laying down on the living room couch with a blanket on top of her body. Ino, what's wrong? Her mother jumped up when she opened her eyes good enough to see her daughter in the mess she was. Ino, what's wrong? Her mother quickly got glassy eyes at the horror thoughts hitting inside her mind at what could have caused it. Hold me, Mom. Ino fell to her knees in front of her mother's couch as her mother wrapped her arms around her head and held her close to her chest. Hold me, Mom. Ino wrapped her arms around her mother's back, squeezing her tightly and burying her face deeper into her mother's shoulder. Hold me tighter, Mom. I need you more than ever. Ino cried herself into her mother while her mother shed tears of her own for the rest of the night. This really was the way Ino last expected her night to end. Tossing and turning, Naruto did the whole night as he couldn't get the thought of Sasuke being inside what used to be his. Was he telling the truth? Naruto had hoped, but he saw through the Viper's eyes that it was no lie but a fact. As he got home later that night, his father caught him at the door and told him, I have some news to tell you, Naruto. As he heard the news his father was breaking to him slowly, he knew things would never ever be the same. Thinking about what he was going to have to do broke Naruto's heart. He squeezed his pillow one last time before a tear came rolling down his eye. I knew it was too good to happen. The clouds raised high in the sky, darkening the sky as you heard thunder coming a mile away. Ino awoke due to one of the thunder shocks echoing around Konoha, her eyes LD over to her dress she had wore the night before, slapped against the floor with her heels next to it. Naruto, Ino stood up on her bed, rolling over onto her side. Why was I so stupid? As the night before wasn't as she had expected it to be. Shikamaru took the girls home in his limo while Ino cried her soul out in front of them. Tenten cried with her while Temari tried to hide herself from the others, but Ino saw the look of sadness she had for her. Her mother had been through the most hard times of Ino's life, but even she had to admit that last night was the worst. Just when Ino was going to go back to sleep, she finally realized it was all over. High school was over, everything she had been faced with had been a test to see her loyalty for the guy she loved. She had failed. Today was the last day to see all her loved ones from school just one more time before they moved on with their lives. Ino just couldn't do that at the moment, she couldn't let go. Damn, Naruto punched the table of his desk with a hard fist. Naruto shook his head, sitting down at his desk chair and taking out a piece of paper with a pen nearby in a container. He took the pen and held the ink against the paper, thinking of what to say. Ino, Naruto took a deep breath before beginning to write. This is how it was supposed to end. Naruto continued writing but stopped as soon as it hit him. His tears were dripping onto his paper, smudging his letters together. Ino, honey. Good morning, Ms. Yamanaka greeted her daughter as she slowly walked into the kitchen with her oversized t-shirt. Ino-chan, feeling better about last night. Ms. Yamanaka watched her daughter slowly move over to the dining table where she pulled a chair out and saw with her palm holding her head up. Let's talk about it. Once again no answer from Ino. You know today's your graduation, it's optional but you should go. You know, to be with your friends and spend one last day together before heading your different ways. Her mother stood over Ino who was frowning down at the glass table, fingering it slowly in circular motions. I don't think I want to go, Mom. This time is serious. Ino looked up at her mom and looked back down at the glass table. I was stupid to think. Ino stood up once again with teary eyes, but managed to hold them back. No, Mom. It's best I stay home and not go. I don't want to go. Ino looked to the side and saw her school year flash before her eyes. This was really it. Nonsense, Ino. We're going together, Ino-chan. You hear me? Her mother softened her face and proceeded to walk up the stairs of the house. I'm going to take a shower, Ino, and get ready. Pick out one of those new dresses I bought for you 3 weeks ago, alright? Ms. Yamanaka waited for her answer and wasn't getting one. Ino, did you hear me? Her mother said in a more official tone. I heard you, Mom. Ino watched her mother head up the stairs with great hope that by the end of the day, the school year would have ended perfectly, only she didn't know it was more the opposite of perfection. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.